And hello, everybody in the tech world. It is time for the Tech Informist, episode 90, recorded Wednesday, July 29th, 20, not 29th, 22nd. 29th is next Wednesday. I'm a week ahead. It's almost like time travel. My name is Kevin Harvell, and I am joined by Brad Whiteside. Brad, how are you doing today?
Doing just fine.
Good, good. Well, we just had a very wonderful experience with the Now and Then movie podcast guys, Mike and Mike, not to be confused with Mike and Mike in the morning for ESPN Sports. Talking about a movie called Nightcrawler with Jake Gyllenhaal, which we'll kind of touch on during our app and entertainment picks section. So how are things going, Brad? You're up awful early today. I know we had to drag you out of bed for that.
Yeah, well,
other appearance.
I was going to say I kind of had to get up early if I was going to make this episode and not miss another one. Lo and behold, I get to work yesterday and it's like, hey, there's a lunch meeting tomorrow. You should be here. It's like, oh, day to prepare. That's nice. So obviously I text you as quick as I could and we moved things around so everything could work. Because as soon as this is over, I need to leave for work.
Yeah, for those of you that are listening after the fact, we're recording an hour early today just because of everything else going on. It's a very busy time in
it is. It's driving me nuts.
All of our lives at the moment. So it is what it is. We adapt, make things happen.
We do.
All good in the neighborhood. So we got a few wonderful things to discuss today, and some of it actually goes into the movie that we were just watching, that we watched, last night, which is Nightcrawler with Jake Gyllenhaal. So there's been a lot in the kind of news lately about people that they come up on an accident or they're sitting there and they're seeing something, someone might be in trouble. It could be a fight at school. And people just want to stand in the background and capture it all on camera instead of actually doing the right thing and helping in a situation. Sometimes it could mean life or death. If there's a car on fire and the person is trapped and you're like first on the scene, the first thing you shouldn't think to do is pull out your phone and start videoing it. You should be like trying to help the person that needs help. But I don't know if it's a society thing where people, I'm not getting involved in that.
So. Right. Yeah. So I'm kind of really torn about this because there are instances where, yes, it could be probably more dangerous than maybe you should be putting yourself in that situation. But at the same time, I think you would want somebody to do the same for you. So you kind of got to look at it that way. Right. And in another like aspect of this, when you're recording things, it's easier to, in a way, tell somebody about the experience because you're basically showing them the experience, but you never really see the experience because you're looking at it through your phone, unless you're paying attention to more real life things as your phone is just so happens to be recording or whatever, which usually isn't the case. But, I ran into this when we went to go see Neil deGrasse Tyson. There was a guy in front of us that constantly was taking photos, even though they said not to take any. And, he didn't have his flash on, so it was kind of hard to tell that he was taking photos unless you're sitting directly behind him, like me. And he would constantly bring up his phone, snap a few pictures, and then put it away. It's like
he wasn't even taking the flash off.
No, the flash wasn't on.
Okay.
So it was like, he was at least, I guess, courteous. But at the same time, like I was right behind him. So every time he took out his phone, I was like, oh man, this poor guy is just not enjoying himself, I guess. I don't know.
Oh, there's Neil talking. You can't hear what he's saying because I took a picture.
Neil had some slides behind him, and I guess maybe that's what he was taking a picture of. But at the same time, it's just like, why can't you just enjoy the experience? Because this is Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Yeah. If he wasn't using the Office Lens app, then he's just wasting his time.
I know. So I have a problem with that, but I can see why people do it.
To a point, yeah. I mean, whenever I was
Right.
at the Beatles Love Cirque du Soleil show, I mean, obviously no video and stuff like that, but I would do a little 10-second, 15-second Instagram videos just to share so people could kind of see kind of what it's like. You're not getting the whole experience. If anything, it's advertising for people to actually want to go see it more because you're just giving them little
Right.
teaser clips. It's not like I sat there for the entire hour and a half or however long the performance was, recording the entire thing from start to finish. That would be different.
Yeah, and I mean, it's 2015. Everybody has a camera on the back of their phone.
Right.
And I mean, regardless of whether it's good or not, they have one. And it's just, it's easy to share out videos now more than ever and share an experience rather than tell an experience, which in some cases it's more exciting to tell about it because when you share it on the video, it may not be as exciting as, oh, I saw it this way and this is how I felt and this and this. Whereas you're on the video, you show it and it's over. That's exactly how it happened. There's no like guessing about it.
Right. I guess and another fact to think about is if people didn't record things, we wouldn't get to see those awesome things like when I don't know if you remember this one video that came out a couple years ago about it was from down in Australia and it was recorded at a school where that little bitty bully kid was kind of like picking on the heavier set boy that was actually bigger than him.
Oh, uh-huh.
And, the little guy's kind of like throwing little jabs and stuff. Then the kid that was getting picked on ends up like doing a front suplex on him. Just like picks him up from the front and just slams him down. I mean, we wouldn't have never gotten to see that. And then the little bully gets up and he's kind of like staggering all around. And one of my favorite
Well,
things about that is that somebody brought in and kind of like edited that to incorporate Street Fighter.
no, nice.
It was hilarious how they did that. I really need to find that video and watch it again because man, it was so funny.
Yeah, and by no means am I saying like don't record anything because that's just silly.
Yeah.
I record stuff all the time, mostly of my cat because I'm a cat person, but that's okay. Um, cat or beer pictures like Mary Jo.
There you go.
But yeah, I do a lot, and that's one of the main reasons I look at a smartphone. I'm like, that has an awesome camera. I want that smartphone.
All right.
Beside the point that it's a Windows phone, but
That's beside the point.
yeah, that's just a little minor detail.
But no, I guess the point of all this little discussion is if you have the opportunity to help somebody in need, help them. If you realize, well, there's nothing I can do, the police and emergency responders have it all under control, then I guess by all means record. But if you're first on the scene, use that phone to first dial 911. See if you can help. If there's really nothing you can do, then I guess record it. But just do the right thing first.
Yeah, and plus, I think it makes for a better story of you saving somebody, even though it's not on tape. You saving somebody is a way better story than just you recording a vehicle on fire.
Yeah, I mean, that is what a hero is. I mean, yeah, we always
And
hear the story of firefighters and police officers being heroes, but if a firefighter has never had to go into a burning building to actually pull somebody out, is that truly a hero? Or is it, hey, you just did your job,
well, some firefighters don't get paid.
Yeah,
Some
I mean,
are
there's
in
volunteer
the smaller,
firefighters and stuff.
yeah, there's a smaller communities that can't afford that, and I think that regardless if you get paid or not in those specific jobs, you know what you're signing up for, and I feel like that still has kind of a hero stance to it, in my opinion.
Right.
Police, firefighter, people that constantly put their lives in danger every day.
Yeah. JJ says he can be your hero baby. So he's referring to was that Enrique Iglesias? That song?
Oh, I don't know.
That's a
Might
pop
be
song.
before my time, Kevin.
You're not that old. Stop it. I know you want to always portray that you're the younger of the two, but no, you're not that old. Stop it. Stop it. Stop it. Okay, so moving on. Apple and Microsoft released their quarterly numbers yesterday. And, unsurprisingly,
Not too much surprise from both parties, really, to be honest.
I mean, surprise, Microsoft took a $2.1 billion hit in the last quarter.
After a $7 billion write-off, what did you expect?
Exactly.
And to be fair, and I think I may have mentioned this to you last night, Microsoft took the write-off now to make up for it later, especially during the holiday season. They're going to make this back. Easy, no problem. And $2 billion, that's a drop in the bucket to them. I mean, they have close to like $100 billion that they could spend on buying companies and anything like that throughout 1 year period. So $2 billion is not like, it's a lot of money. Don't get me wrong.
Oh yeah.
But to Microsoft as a company, it's a hit.
It's a rounding error.
Yeah, it's a rounding error, but it's not going to stay around. It's not going to linger the way it would linger on other companies. So it's what we fully expected, honestly.
Yeah, and I know one of the interesting things was the fact that Microsoft sold like 84 million Lumia devices. So,
yeah.
So I mean they're selling a lot. They're selling a lot of them. Granted, that's probably considered worldwide numbers. And let's see, that's growing from more than 10% in 2014. So in Microsoft's first year 15 report, or FY, whatever FY really stands for, report for quarter four, they're saying 8.4 million Lumias is being sold, which is, quote, growing more than 10% over the full year prior
and
full quarter sales.
Was it 27% year over year?
Could be. Looking through more of the actual story from Windows Central, I don't see the 27 being mixed in there, but compared to last year where they sold approximately 5.8 million, so they're up to 8.4. Now, just imagine if they would have had, some flagships in there to really get the U.S. market interested. I mean, I know the 640 is doing well, 640 XL, 630s, and 635. Some of these devices have been out for a while. It's probably too early to say about the 640 and 640 XL numbers just based on how new they are.
Yeah, I mean, they're only 3 weeks old in the U.S., so.
But it just goes to show that worldwide these things are selling.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, their low-end market does work for most of the world, but I think their mid-range is just as important as there is for the rest of the world as flagships are for the U.S. So.
Yes, and as Halftime mentions, Windows revenue was down 22%.
Also not surprising because, well, let's face it, they're giving Windows 10 away for free.
Yeah, nobody's going to go out and buy new versions of Windows knowing the next version's getting ready to come out. And
the only reason you're going to go out and buy a version of Windows 10 is because you're building one, like a PC yourself, like I did. And that's kind of a niche market right now. People don't tend to do that too much anymore. But not to say people won't do it. If you... So mine's really messed up. I have a Windows 7 version, which I had to upgrade to 8, which I'll have to upgrade to 10 in order, to get things the way I want it. But
yeah, you got a long road ahead of you with that upgrade.
Yeah.
It's going to take you some time.
Yeah.
But thankfully, you get Fridays and Saturdays off.
Well, I mean, I'm running 8.1 right now. What I'm saying is, the computer I'm working on right now, which you're hearing me talk from, is the one that started at 7 because I couldn't wait for 8 to start my computer up, so I bought 7. And as soon as 8 came out, I upgraded to that. As soon as 8.1 came out, I upgraded to that. And then 10, I'm probably just gonna throw caution to the wind and do the same.
Yeah. Now, will you just do an update, or will you do a full
No,
clean install?
I've only ever just done updates. I've never been a clean install person, to be honest. I have, it's more, I think it's my iTunes, my music, that holds me back from doing a clean install. And I think I should probably look into Apple's little, I forget what it's called, but it's like $25 a year, and it pretty much archives all your music on the iCloud. I don't remember how much, but it'll archive it. So when I wipe the computer, start over fresh, pull up iTunes, sign in, it just starts, aggregating and downloading all the stuff that I have, which is something to think about doing. Oh, of course, it doesn't do it to all your music. Some of the music that is not in iTunes Store, because there is some, won't transfer over that way, unfortunately.
Okay. Yeah, that was one of the biggest things, whenever I was working at the school in the IT department. Students would always, am I going to lose my iTunes and this and that? Like, well, we're going to back up everything we can. And
Well,
if you haven't like changed where your iTunes, the music and everything points, if you just leave it by default to the music folder, you're going to be fine. It's when you start directing things to go like where they're not supposed to or not intended to. That's when you need to know what you're doing, because you're possibly going to mess up what the person that needs to help you out with your system problems and like recovering your stuff.
yeah, and I think this speaks volumes to, there's a lot of people that I know that don't have archived music anymore. They just stream.
Right.
And for them, I mean, I applaud that, because that's less you have to worry about. I mean, all my stuff's backed up on OneDrive, in, unfortunately, in the MP4 format, so I can't just pull it down and in the Xbox Music / Groove, whatever you want to call it at this point. Um, but I could, I think, essentially just pull it from my OneDrive into iTunes directly, and it'll work just fine. So, I mean, I already got it all backed up, so I'm good.
Yeah, that's kind of like what I'm doing right now, since I haven't turned my desktop computer on since we moved back in November. Instead of bringing the tower and keyboard monitor and stuff like that up to the office with me to back up, update, stuff like that, I just pulled out my secondary drive with it has all my music and everything stored on it. And I've just hooked it up externally to my Surface, and I'm just gradually transferring things from that drive to my OneDrive. I want to get all my music to my OneDrive account. So, if for some reason I do want to use Groove, all my personal music would be there to stream.
Halftime's making a really good point in the chat room that I kind of want to touch on. So I'm assuming that they're not expecting to make revenue from Windows till the fiscal year of 2017, which, if that's the case, Windows isn't the cash cow that it used to be.
No.
Windows is almost the starting platform for everything else that they have going on, because you have your 365 subscriptions, you have OneDrive, which can be tied into 365. You have the Xbox Live, you have Groove, you have the devices that they're making like Surface and HoloLens, and so they're not relying on Windows as much as in the past. In the past, that was their cash cow. That was their iPhone. But now they're expanding into other areas, so they're not putting all their eggs in one basket, so to speak. They're kind of touching, and that doesn't even their cloud stuff, like Azure and all the enterprise stuff, that doesn't even account for that stuff, because I think that's where a good portion of their money comes from.
Yeah, that is true. And, factoring in, you got Office 365. I know they make a lot of money from those services, because there's a lot of people that are subscribed to that, and it's a great service that I highly recommend to anybody, where they use the personal for what, $60 or $70, and then the home for $100, that gives you up to 5 machines.
Or you can just buy a $60 device, give it to your little sister or parents, and then keep the 365 subscription you get from that and put it on your account.
Yeah, that is true too.
I actually bought, I can't remember when it went on sale, but the 365 subscriptions went on sale at one point, and they were like, I want to say they were like $40. So I went ahead and grabbed another one. So I'm good up till like 2017, I want to say.
Okay.
So kind of like with I do the same with my Xbox Live. I kind of go a couple years ahead. I love that you can stack subscriptions with Microsoft. I love that, because if I ever come in financial hard times, maybe for a couple months or a year, or whatever that may be, I have that backup like set into place just in case.
Yeah, when Xbox Live goes on sale for like $35 or $40, which is actually very frequently, it seems like every other week you can find it available to purchase for that.
I haven't paid for a full $60 a year subscription since, I want to say, like close to 2010.
Yeah,
I've always paid like $40 or under.
Yeah, it's always buy 2 of them.
Yeah,
buy 2 of those years for the price. And just browsing through Windows Central, actually today they're talking about Windows 10 won't include support to sync your start menu layouts or your app installs, like you can with Windows 8.
Yeah, I don't think I'm too worried about that per se.
I'm not either, but I always, it's one of the things I always liked on 8.1 though. No matter which device that I would set up, and if it's syncing my desktop or syncing my start screen, and
now, if that was
set up and laid out the way that I liked it.
Yeah, so if they were to say that about the phone, that might be slightly more of an issue for me, because when I upgrade to, let's say, the newer phone, could be a problem. But I don't see that being an issue, because I even think that my 635, when it was on 10, made a backup, and then when I went to refresh it on 8.1, it brought the backup back down from 10, but then there were apps that didn't exist, so there were placeholders. So there's still a backup there for phones. But yeah, computer, not as big of a deal, because when it comes to the full-on OS, my tablet is set up way different than my computer. And my tablet is just for much lighter things, like surfing the internet for guides and stuff when I'm playing games, or tutorial videos, or maybe even finding people to come play with. So that's how I use those.
Okay. Speaking of the new Windows phone, now they're talking that it might be called the 950.
Yeah, I think I mentioned that Monday at some point, or yeah, it must have been Monday, because it wasn't last week. But yeah, I've been reading that over the weekend, and I find that interesting that they're, in a sense, skipping a generation, but in a sense they're not, because that generation for the 940 is kind of happening right now with the 640.
Right.
Whereas when we get to the 950, it'll kind of be time for those devices, 950, 650, whatever else there may be. So I can see that.
Yeah, that'll be. Obviously, we're still waiting till IFA, which we're just assuming. We don't have cold hard facts. That is when they'll announce, but
there's no invites that have been sent out or any memos that anybody's picked up on. As far as we know, everybody's in the dark still, but I'm sure we're going to hear something within the next month or so about when they're going to show something off. I mean, somewhere between, it's going to be September, October when they show it off. When it comes out, could be October, November. So we'll see.
I still say announce in September, release in October.
I sure hope so, because I'd love to have that before I head to Vegas.
Yeah, that would be something if they released it on October 31st and you're in Vegas getting married and next stop to the cruise ship and go on your little vacation, honeymoon.
Yep.
Let's see. Let's just look at the calendar real quick and see how those days would fall. So Halloween is on a Saturday.
It is.
So they would release it, if anything, a few days before. It'll be released during.
Which there is a Microsoft store in Vegas, so I could go to there.
You could.
But yeah, I don't know. That would make for an interesting story later in life. Yeah, we were in Vegas and Brad just had to get that new phone.
Yep, had to buy a phone. I'm sure your fiance would just love you for that. But she understands.
She knows. She knows what she's getting herself into.
Oh, that would be fun. And just one last thing, speaking about Microsoft, that next week we'll be recording probably from the Microsoft store. Chances are it will not be a live recording.
No, the connection there isn't substantial enough for that.
Yeah, not sure their speeds are good enough for that to at least be a good quality. Okay, I'll just say this. It's possible that we will record live, but if you listen to the audio quality will be a heck of a lot better. We'll be recording the audio directly to the machine. Which, they're probably going to... I don't know how happy Microsoft will be that I'm in there recording on a Mac. Because I won't be recording it to my Surface. Because Audacity does not let me record two inputs.
Oh, I see. Well, I'm sure they get Macs in there all the time. So I don't see them batting an eyelash, really.
Yeah, they'll just be happy that we're there.
Yeah, we're covering it. And when you go to build or anything like that, when you have a camera pan out and see the crowd, you always see a bunch of glowing apples. So yeah, I'm not surprised.
Glowing apple.
Yeah, which doesn't glow anymore. It's just,
not on the MacBook.
Yeah,
no glow MacBook.
I think they're heading towards that direction.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about Apple real quick. Big numbers, 47.5 million iPhones sold in quarter 3 of 2015, 10.9 million iPads, 4.8 million Macs, and $10.7 billion in profit.
So is it fair to say that there was more Windows phones sold than there were MacBooks?
Yeah, based on those numbers.
Okay, I was just curious.
But
anyway,
considering the Windows phones are only costing
substantially cheaper, yes, I know,
$50 to $250 as opposed to $1,000 plus.
But hey, we're only 2% of the market, Kevin.
In the United States. Well, now is that the 2 point whatever?
2.5? I think in the world, I think we're close to 3% in the U.S.
Yeah, but overseas, they're 10, 11, 12% in certain areas.
Yeah, specifically the UK, I want to say is 11. So, yeah. And they've passed iPhone in some areas, which is no surprise because once again, cheaper in those areas. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Yeah. Anyways. Yeah. So they, had a really good year as pretty much always. It didn't really go into too much detail about I guess they did mention the Apple Watch, but they're doing well with Apple Watch overall. They've sold a lot. I don't think they give comprehensive sales numbers of the Apple Watch. But like we mentioned last episode, you expect the demand to die down, 3, 4 months after release. That's just naturally going to happen. It's not going to be in huge demand for an entire year. So.
Also, we just barely touched on this right when we were wrapping up, but the new iPod is out, so there will be iPod sales again.
Yep, iPod
Um,
Touch.
yeah, which I'm very interested in because it has the better processor. I believe it has a better screen than the 5th gen did. Is it 5th gen or 6th?
I'm not sure what generation that
It's
they're
5th
really on with
because
that.
the 6th is the newest one.
Okay.
So I have a 2nd gen, if that says anything. It's still running great. It just can't run apps, which makes it kind of pointless other than music, I guess. But I have that on my phone, so back to square one. The nice thing is I have an even older iPod with a shattered screen that the Apple Store said they would still take, and I could still get 10% off a purchase of a new iPod, which I find interesting. I'm like, so you'll take my shattered screen, battery doesn't work, has to be plugged in all the time to work, and I get 10% off a new iPod? Okay, have it. I don't need it anymore.
Exactly.
So I'm going to bring that in once I decide to get a new iPod, which should be soon, I hope, because I would like to have that even just for the sole purpose of checking out apps that I don't normally have. So,
Okay. Good.
well, obviously, iPod doesn't really make too much sense for you because you have an iPhone. So,
Yeah. Yeah. Nice little iPhone 6.
but I mean, I feel like people with an Android phone might be more inclined to buy an iPod just because an iPod it has a good name to it. It's like PlayStation or Xbox. It's like you hear the brand and you're like, "Oh, yeah, that's a great brand. I like that." So it doesn't really have any negative things about it other than if you were just an absolute fanboy and just hate Apple, you know, which there are people like that, and that's fine. That's their thing. I To be fair, I used to kind of be the same way towards Google and Android, but I'm kind of getting over that. So
Yeah. Back on the Apple Watch, during the conference call yesterday, Tim Cook says that the watch sales in June were actually higher than in April or May.
huh.
So, but then again, that
So
could
how
be.
many have they sold so far?
Let me see.
Want to say it was like 3 million, 4 million.
Now let me follow the link trail and see if I can actually find a sales number overall for it. The adopters. No, I'm not seeing a comprehensive number. If somebody knows what that is or can share that, would love to know for sure.
Yeah,
Strange.
Raw wanted to know, and just in the meantime, while you look that up, if we had touched on the 950 and 950 XL. We did, but it was under the impression that they were the 940 and 940 XL. And I want to say that was a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, I mean we've talked about those off and on for a while. It's just now recently there's more leaks that it's going to be considered the 950.
Yeah, it's really more of a name change than completely different devices. And I mean, from what I've read, there are going to be some pretty stand-up devices. So
Now, did you see that image? I think it came from a website called Pocket Now or something like that, where it showed a render, or it was actually an actual photo, I believe, of a.
oh, the render of like all the leaked photos
Yeah,
that
they said
they
it was. Yeah, it says
that
on the display it's a Lumia 950, but yet at the top of the device it says Nokia. I'm just sitting here thinking that cannot be right because it would say Microsoft on the top. They
yeah,
would
it
not
would
be using the
absolutely
Nokia
say.
name.
Yeah, it would absolutely say Microsoft across the top and across the back, just like the 640. I think we'll see that from here going on out. And I mean, they even brand the batteries now. The battery has a Microsoft logo on it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, which you actually mentioned in your review of the 640 XL.
yeah, I see. I like silly little touches like that. Like when HTC had the Evo and you took apart the back and it was all red on the inside.
Mm-hmm.
I like that stuff. Like it's just that attention to detail that's like they really care about this device.
Right. And it's kind of the same thing, kind of like with design language for the iPhones and stuff. You know, if you look
Yeah.
at the ports and the volume buttons and everything is lined up and it's just like all perfectly symmetrical and everything's just aligned and designed well.
Same thing goes for the packaging something comes in. When you're taking it out of the package and it might flip open and have just this nice layout and you see just the device, you know, the presentation of how they deliver it to you from that packaging, I think is very important too.
Yeah. Hence the
when I-
popularity of unboxing videos, which I still don't understand. But for that reason right there, that makes sense. I do get it. I just don't.
I think when people do unboxings, they forget to mention this is the reason you should get excited because look at all the detail that but they never, I want to say 90% of the videos that I've seen, they never like flip the box around and show you how it's presented to you before you take it out of the box. They just kind of take it out of the box and willy-nilly, you know, string things everywhere. And or an unboxing could be the first time you ever see something like special editions of games. Developers like to unbox those for the first time so you know what you're buying into.
Yeah. So. Just real quick, speaking of games, and I know this is going to be near and dear to your heart, but the Gears of War Ultimate Edition for Windows 10 is going to be released after the Xbox One version.
That's not very surprising to me. That happens all the time. So, for instance, I believe one of the games that I'm looking at that won't be available on Xbox One right away, it'll be available, from what I understand, on PS4 first. It's called No Man's Sky. It'll be on PS4 first, with PC to follow shortly thereafter, if not the day of. And then they're kind of hinting that it'll come to Xbox, but there's no definite say. So, but yeah, I'm curious as to. So the original Gears of War was on PC, so it makes sense for the Ultimate Edition to once again be on PC. I'm curious to see if Gears 4 shows up on PC. That, I think, is the more interesting story. Because are they reserving that for only Xbox? Or are they reserving that for the brand Xbox? And hey, come to our store, buy the Xbox, or buy it on the Xbox or on the store on the Windows platform, and you can play it on your computer with people on, you know, the Xbox. Which I also read another story where they're looking to have keyboard and mouse support for the Xbox. So if you could game like that, that would be very interesting for a console, especially.
Yeah, it would, because I mean that's one of the big things that PC gamers have always said, that I can control my first-person shooter or whatever much easier with keyboard and mouse, much more accurate controls.
Yeah. And that's true. I mean, that's why for a while we didn't see a lot of first-person shooters on the console space, because it was hard to control that first-person view until somebody finally nailed it. GoldenEye, I think, and then from there we evolved to Call of Duty. So,
yeah. And even really on GoldenEye, using the Nintendo 64 controller, that to me, that wasn't the greatest way to control a first-person shooter.
Well, right, but for a console, it was definitely a huge step in the right direction.
Oh yeah, you know,
and
Super Nintendo
with
or something like that. Yeah, no,
yeah,
that ain't happening there.
Right, and Nintendo had just the one stick for the longest time, whereas, you know, PS2 and original Xbox had the twin stick. So when with the birth of the kind of twin stick, that really helped with movement, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, to your point, mouse and keyboard are probably the most accurate and fastest way to control something.
And was that you that was showing me that one image of like a Xbox Surface Pro keyboard type cover? It was green, and on the the WASD it had arrows.
Oh no, I don't know.
Yeah.
It wasn't. So there was like an Xbox branded like flip cover for the HTC M1 or HTC One M8. Yeah, that one.
Okay. Well, I think this might have just been like a rendering or something, but it was a completely, Xbox green Surface Pro type cover that, the Windows key was, instead of having the Windows symbol, it had the Xbox symbol, had the up, down, left, right arrows on the WASD keys. And it was really a neat looking thing. I don't know if it's something real, but
Oh, okay. Might have to look into that.
yeah, it's pretty neat looking. Okay, so with Periscope and Meerkat, that's one of the biggest complaints of those two applications is that when you're using that to shoot video, you're recording it vertically. And we all know that taking photos or shooting video vertically is just wrong. Don't. That's not how it's meant to be used. Horizontal landscape,
Yes,
people.
please, for the love of God.
So
I want to almost, you could make a tutorial out of it, Kevin. It might take 15 seconds. You could almost do a Vine on a tutorial of how to do it. Because
that'd be Instagram video there.
it's just like,
yeah, that's simply all it is.
the wrong way to record shows this. The right way to record. Done.
Exactly. So instead of kind of pressuring society into doing the right thing, as is often the case, YouTube is going to tweak the Android app and make it change the appearance of vertical recorded videos. So instead of whenever you're watching a vertically recorded video on your YouTube app, when you're watching it in landscape, you won't have to, you won't just see that very narrow display. You'll be able to actually watch it, with your phone vertically as it was recorded, and it'll completely fill the display.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that kind of drives me nuts to have that black border on both sides.
Yeah, it's just one of the issues. So that update, we're not sure when that's actually going to be released yet, but there are APKs available to download from specific places, whether you're somebody that likes to do that. I'll just wait for the regular update myself.
Same.
Yeah, when it comes to something like that, I just want the official update. I know a lot of people always want to post Google Play Store update APKs. I'm like, no, that's kind of an important one. I want to wait to get it officially.
Yeah.
I just don't want to risk anything like that. So we'll go ahead and move into our app and entertainment picks. As we mentioned at the beginning of the show, we were just on the Now and Then movie podcast with a pair of mics. And we talked about the movie Nightcrawler, which stars Jake Gyllenhaal as Louis Bloom. And what Louis Bloom does for a living is...
Well, he's a nightcrawler for a living.
He's a nightcrawler. And for those of you kind of unfamiliar with that term, which I was unfamiliar with the term, your first thing when you hear Nightcrawler is, for me, being a comic book fan, I think of the X-Men character Nightcrawler, who can transport pretty much anywhere at any time, just instantly.
I think of somebody creepy.
Yeah, it does. It sounds very creepy.
Which he is.
Which definitely is. So what he likes to do is go around and show up at accident scenes, crime scenes, stuff like that, shoot videos, take the videos, sell it to news stations, and get paid for it. But it's really a surprisingly good movie, and I did hear good reviews about it when it was out in theaters and stuff. People were saying, it's actually kind of a sleeper, one of those good movies that kind of flies under the radar, doesn't get the big budget push of ads and critical reviews and stuff. But I thought it was really good. Really, really enjoyed it.
It's funny you mentioned the ads. I just occurred to me, and I forgot to talk about it. But at one point, they're sitting in the car, just like waiting for something to happen, and across the way, you see Bed Bath and Beyond and AT&T. Yeah. And if for those of you who haven't seen it, I'm pretty sure Dodge put a pretty penny in there because they use a Dodge Challenger SRT8 which is like a $46,000 car. So they use that for pretty much the remainder of the movie. Or for a big chunk of the movie, they use that car. So
Yeah, he had his little Toyota hatchback, whatever kind of old car that was. But
I forget.
obviously, it couldn't get him from point A to point B fast enough. So next thing you know, he's rolling around in a Challenger SRT8. Wow,
More than enough horsepower to get him to where he needs to go.
Yeah, and the other aspect that, and I did mention that on that episode, was the fact that Rick, his quote unquote intern / partner, who's really just a homeless kid, older kid, he's a young adult, we'll say, was complaining that he was, driving too fast and he couldn't, navigate him and tell him where to turn because he's going so fast he couldn't read the couldn't
screen on his phone.
Yeah. I'm thinking, well, you need a bigger phone, fool.
Yeah.
You need a 1520 or a 6 Plus or Galaxy Note so you can actually see.
Oh, Kevin, he couldn't afford a 6 Plus. We all know this.
No, not when he was getting, $30 a day.
$30 a night, yeah.
Yeah,
so he needs a 640 XL. That's what he needs.
Yeah, there you go. But, I'm not going to spoil it. I won't tell you what happens to Rick.
Yeah,
you guys need to watch the movie.
Yeah, it is definitely worth at least one watch. I don't say it's worth owning. Netflix had an average rating of 4 stars out of 5, and I stand solidly by that. I think it was a solid movie.
I wouldn't give it any more or any less.
Yeah, and to be fair, that was that director's first movie directed. He's written before, but he's never directed his own movie. So that was a really good first direct, in my opinion. Yeah. So I plan on, or I would like to see more from him because I felt the cinematography was excellent.
Yeah, it was a very well done movie. I mean, it's tough to do, I would say, movies where the majority of your footage is going to be shot at night.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I mean, he did a fantastic job.
Yeah, definitely well done. Available on Netflix.
Yeah, it's on Netflix, so go check it out. Like I said, definitely worth a watch. It's little disclosure, it is a little creepy and slightly graphic at sometimes, but I mean, I'm pretty sure most of you guys look past that stuff anyway. So,
and then of course our podcast pick for this episode will be the Now and Then Movie Podcast. Now, they're on episode 7 or 8, maybe 9. And I'll just go ahead and throw out a disclaimer. It's still a new show. They're still kind of new to podcasting. Just kind of give it a chance. Some of it's good. Some of it, there's always that growing period. I know, God, for crying out loud, I know I went through that stage. JJ in the chat, he knows for sure. You can listen to some of those first episodes of STL Tech Talk podcast, and they were horrible with me being the host. Some people might say that, well, Kevin, they're still horrible now. You haven't gotten any better.
Well,
Yeah, so
still working on being the best we can be.
Yeah. And so, just with these first few episodes of that, make sure to listen with both headphones in because of the audio mixing. If you just listen if you're somebody that'll listen with one headphone in, the channels, the kind of mono.
Yeah, if you have a setting on your phone, I guess suggest moving it to mono instead of stereo, so you can hear everything.
Yeah.
But other than that, yeah, like he said, use stereo.
Yeah. So they've done Jurassic World, Maleficent was the name of it, and I
still haven't seen that.
I haven't either. Good. And they also did Wild with Reese Witherspoon. That was their most recent episode that's released. So overall, it's a pretty good show, and I know Mike Levancher. He's one of the hosts, one of the mics. Good guy. I met him out at New Media Expo, the conference that was out in Vegas back in April. So good guy, good show. Hopefully they can keep growing that and growing as podcasters, and it'll become even better. So fun experience. Had a good time.
Yeah, absolutely. That was fun. I'll do it again.
So let me see if there's anything else we'd like to throw in there. Nope, let's just go to weekly poll questions. So we got a couple questions actually out there. And Brad, I don't know if you actually seen the one that I posted last night, but we'll just talk about the current one, which is how soon are you updating to Windows 10?
Oh, you got a link for me?
Oh, for the new one or the prior one?
Both.
Both. Well, I can tell you where you can find the prior one. It's in the show notes from episode 89. That's where you can find that one, sir.
In the show notes online or in the show notes on the site?
On the site.
Okay.
Yeah. So that is there. I'm actually going to be bringing that up now so I can look at the current standings, which 78% of people said they are upgrading immediately. 13% say within a few weeks. 9% say I'll wait a few months until the October update. And nobody has voted to say they do not see a reason to update.
Yeah, because that's a little silly.
Some people, they're like, no, I'm not updating. I don't like it. I don't like Windows 8.1 or Windows 8. I'm not updating to this. It's the same thing. So
I just voted for immediately.
Oh, good job.
Because there's no few days, so I guess a day or so might be considered immediately to some people.
Well, I know you're itching for it because you have yet to install it on any of your machines.
Yeah, and in a way, I'm kind of doing that so I get just a fresh, boom, here's Windows 10, you've never used it before, go. Kind of like what Mary Jo does. Of course, she just does it for the sole purpose of, I don't want to mess with that, which I'm in that boat too. I just don't want to mess with the installs and whatnot. Not that it's necessarily that hard. I don't know.
She's not the kind of person that's going to have, like Paul Thurrott, where he's going to have dozens of machines laying around his office that he can do this on, and it's not going to really affect his workflow. She has one main laptop. And I'm sure she's also got a Surface Pro as well, but she just doesn't want to mess either one of them up because she uses those for her work. I mean, those are her work machines. That's her portable office. She can either work at home, she can work anywhere else. She doesn't want to take any chance of having an issue. And I don't blame her in that case, but it still doesn't stop me. I'm a glutton for punishment when it comes to that kind of stuff. So our other question, which I will throw in the chat room right now, is thoughts on recent format changes of the Tech Informist show. As many of you are familiar, we've kind of changed some things when it comes to the format of the show. We've gotten some feedback and thought, hey, let's go ahead, change some things up, see how it goes. So now we're wanting to get feedback on the changes from the feedback. The options are we like them, love them, hate them, and I still need to listen to the show. Because, well, some people that might see the poll on Twitter or Facebook might be like, well, I've never even listened to the show, so I don't know. So if you hate them, we would love to know why. You can just, on there I put, tell us why at Tech Informist on Twitter. Just try to give us just a short little idea of what you think. And the current results are 40% say they love them, 20% say they like them, and 40% say I still need to listen to the show. So not really a whole lot of votes on this poll yet, so we need to publicize that a little bit more.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
I'm really excited for the format going forward, especially when we start getting some guests here on Wednesdays.
Yeah, which actually I'm trying to get Rob Greenlee to come on and talk about podcasting before Podcast Movement.
Well, I also think it's
next week.
Worth mentioning maybe next week we might be able to get Carson from the Windows, from the Microsoft Store. He's really heavy influence big head honcho here in St. Louis. So if you know him, that would be cool to get him on.
Yeah.
Talk to him for a minute.
Yeah, it's going to be a busy week next week. You've got the OnePlus 2 launch / reveal coming on either the 27th or the 29th.
Mm-hmm.
And that, getting ready to leave for podcast movement, just going to be a crazy week. But that is the life of a technology nerd.
Yep.
Stuff we got to deal with.
Never ending.
Yeah. So talking about the feedback, one other little thing I do want to implement into the show now is, again, as always, we want feedback, we want questions, we want anything. So if you do send us comments, suggestions, feedback via email to contact@thetechinformist.com, starting with our next episode, I'm going to start reading some of them on the air. So you'll be able to get shout outs. We want to give people shout outs, recognition for being fans, being listeners, interacting with the show, blah, blah, blah. So send us some feedback, send us some thoughts, questions. If you've got questions for us, we would like to read those on the air and kind of maybe discuss those questions of topics and things like that. It's the kind of thing we want to introduce more audience interaction. We love our chat room. Every episode, you guys are great. Wish we could load that up with, 20, 30 people at a time, but that would really be a lot to keep up with. So looking forward to integrating that. So again, send any feedback, comments, suggestions, questions, just whatever you are thinking of. contact@thetechinformist.com. And the one last thing I do want to mention is, again, if you would like to support the show, whether as an individual for as little as $1 a month or all the way up to $50, kind of Patreon style, you can simply visit thetechinformist.com/support, or it's embedded on pretty much any page. It's available. You can see it right there on the right-hand side if you're watching us live. And if you are a business owner, a case manufacturer, something like that, hey, we have options available for you as well to reach our audience that we believe are pretty passionate people. So if you've got a great product that you feel our audience may be interested in purchasing and trying out, let us know. We would love to work with you as well. So Brad, any last words as we wrap this up? Because I know you got to get going to your lunch meeting.
Nope. I think that pretty much does it for this week.
Okay. Yep. It's the end of the week.
It'll be exciting next week for us Microsoft people.
Yeah, for you Microsoft fans,
Microsoft
fanatics. All right. So that does it for this episode. Again, everybody, thank you. Follow me on Twitter @KevinHarvell and follow Brad on Twitter @holy_shadows. And also follow Tech Informist on Twitter @TechInformist. Simple. All right, that does it. Until next time, consider yourself informed and have a wonderful weekend. We are out.
See you guys.